more obviously. So like with large stage, any place where there are little crevices, little divots, we're going to kind of want to emphasize those. So I see one here on him. And notice I'm sort of going with the direction of the skin. Are you trying to make this even, or it doesn't? No, see, here's the beauty. Aging doesn't happen symmetrically, so I should say the lack of beauty. Here's what makes this easy, is that we don't fall at an even rate. Look at Sylvester Stallone and you'll know what I mean. So anywhere where you just see any kind of indentation.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Thanks for the warning.
Stop.
And in fact, I might even, since the indentation kind of... You're still going to keep up with all the usual highlights and shadows. So I'm going to do the temples. And I'm going to keep a real, especially on TC who has very strong bone structure, I'm going to make sure this temple edge is really, really sharp. And again, even with the things that we've been working so hard to keep symmetrical, not super worried about it now. But we want to keep that edge sharp. Now, I also don't do much in terms of creating difference between men and women because we do tend to get androgynous, as I said last week. Peter O'Toole is a good example. But we can also talk about, ladies, how if you want to make your character look as if she was wearing makeup, we can sort of talk about, we can talk through the tricks of that too. One of the easiest is to take the tube of lipstick and apply it with your non-dominant hand. Because, yeah, shaky in our eyes, right? Alright, so normally for basic corrective, I would have TC do very, very straight lines down to the center of the nose. But he has a slight sort of bump here, a little like arch in the center of his nose, and I'm going to really wrap around it and make that seem prominent. See that already, even before I blended it? Also, because he has a heavy brow, and there are a couple of you, like Jeremy, for example, have a similarly heavy brow, a teeny blended curve right where the brow kind of falls over. And you can manipulate the skin to kind of show you what to do. Is when this skin someday falls down, it's going to create a little there that I am going to, it's going to be a blended curve upward. So we're going to use a lot of blended curve here. The idea being that with folds of skin, right, there'll be a sort of a sharp edge and it'll blend away. So I'm going to place that and blend that up. So the key with aging makeup is to keep it all very subtle all over. Anything too heavy, too painted is going to look fake. So I'm laying in just really subtle things all the way down, and the end result will be pretty believable. I'm also going to lengthen his nose, which means I'm going to, this is going to tickle just a little bit, I'm going to kind of re-shadow here, and when I do highlight, I'm going to bring it down further, because of course the nose and the ears continue to grow as we age. And in fact, I might widen him at the base here a little bit. What was the question?
Did you already do under his eyes?
No, that's just me, natural, babe.
Oh my gosh, no.
No, it's true. No, it's true. It's fine. Don't worry.
You're in a shadow. It's
No, I thought really bad.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
Don't worry, no.
It's this
No,
light
I'm
too.
joking.
I always
Yeah,
look at
it's
it.
no,
Yeah.
it's the lights. You
Unless
don't
you're
look
looking
dead.
right at it, the light does funny things.
So I showed this one last time. This is the nasolabial fold. You start, it's going to be a blended curve. You wrap around the nostril. And then just depending where that comes, he is kind of a more full spot here, so I'm not going to try and gather it all the way down. So this too is a blended curve, so lay that shape in and turn to the side so they can all see how it wraps around. Oh, I should get you a mirror as well. There you are. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
Great. So now I'm gonna blend
Oh, that's weird.
this.
Do you look like you're doing
No, actually, it's weird.
Adopted.
So.
So remember with the blended curve, you want to place your brush very carefully on that edge. You keep a sharp edge. Because what we're essentially creating is kind of this shape, right? So it has a sharp edge, and then it blends softly out to the new folds. When you blend it out, don't blend up from the nostril, blend the whole thing out.
That's you.
You'll also get, as the skin starts the right side, you'll get a little fold here. So I'm going to keep this really tiny. That's a blended curve blending up. Placing that carefully, kind of blending upward. And again, from probably where Maggie is, it's hard even to see some of these tiny little shapes, but when all added together, let's see, coloring in the, what is it, the philtrum, will create a sense of more sort of prominent folds in the skin, so just a little bit of, you're going to make it. You're going to make it. This would be easier to see if you didn't have a beard, but we're also going to deal with the hair that we see as well. Great. So the eyes, a lot happens. So since the skin thins, the eye socket is going to become more prominent in appearance. So we're going to kind of color all the way around this eye socket and blend toward the eyeball. So blending up and in and down and toward the eye. But also this skin is going to start to fold. So we're going to create a little fake fold in here as well. Some of these lines are going to kind of crisscross over each other, which is fine. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of go over, feel around for the eye socket, and just, not in a full circle, kind of break it up, but you can open and look up at the ceiling.
What age is this?
I'm going for about 60, but these things can adjust up or down. It's why you've got photos like, so 45 is more nasolabial fold and a little bit of this, but it's sort of a little more subtle. Okay. And then again, we're blending up toward the eye. Close. And then down toward the eye. So blending always toward the eyeball. This is also good for tired characters, drug addicts, sort of this sort of sunken, hollow, where beats the alternative. In this little shadow, my eye area is so big it's kind of hard to see, but there's the little shadow that's created here. I'm going to essentially just color that in. I'm going to do a blended curve that's pretty deep that blends toward the eyeball. Really get into that hollow. And on this side, go ahead and open. And again, if one's deeper than the other, totally fine. Okay, look up to the ceiling. And again, you want these shapes to not, close please, to not go all the way around, kind of break them up a little bit. And stay closed, and kind of join these guys up. Stay closed. Go on the other side, stay closed. See what that does? So that's the socket, which kind of, now TC, judging by his family photos, would probably also have some hyperpigmentation. I think having the shadow around there will kind of do the same thing, though if we wanted to go in and stipple a little bit later with some of the deeper brown, that's a good way to kind of echo that. So what also will happen is, and you just open and look out, is this fold will start to happen, right? So it's going to happen in two places. There's going to be this little hitch here that folds, and then here where it folds as well. I want to show you that on the chalkboard what I've done. So there's this guy, which we have blended upward and downward, right, all over the eye socket. And now what I've just did is into that deep hollow, I've created a shape that comes up like this, and I've blended it all this way. And then with the eye closed, I brought it down across the eye and blended all of that in. So imagine this is a closed eye. This is the shape. To mimic that sense of folding. Close, please. Then another thing we want to do in the eye is we want to put a shadow in, but we're going to put it directly into the crease. And instead of blending up, we're going to blend down onto the eyeball. That's going to, again, create this illusion of a hooded, sunken lid.
Sorry.
Okay, you actually open. I'm going to go right into that crease. And close. On the other side. And close. And as I did on the other side, I'm going to create this fold and bring it down.
But when you do the crease thing and blend it down, that would kind of combine with the fold.
Yeah, like I said, in some places they're going to crisscross a little, but I just want to sort of keep the concept separate so you sort of know why you're doing what you're doing. Yeah, see? And then as we continue to do the makeup, that'll get, that'll spread around a little bit, and then we can just go in and clean it up so it looks controlled. Great. All right. Looking tired. Let's do a little, some crow's feet. You want to keep these very subtle here at the eye, or they're going to look fake. So again, you're trying to mimic this sense of these little guys. Fold it just a little bit. And you'll see how I manipulate the skin to sort of show me where these things go. And then clean off the brush and then blend upward. Being careful not to run them together. Let's see. Great. So in order to bring attention to bulbousness of the nose, as well as how the chin becomes more bulbous, the little like thing that has in the past made our lip look more full, we're gonna drop it down to make our chin pad look more prominent.
As far as the eyes go,
Mhm.
in my family, it kind of looks like skin like starts bunching up there.
Yeah.
How do you do?
Kind of like crepiness.
Yeah, it's like folding, like it's like really intense crow's feet that like fold. almost.
Yeah. That's even from here, that's not going to have so much impact. So I tend to go for larger shapes. If you were doing it in a very small space and you were aging yourself a lot, the best thing to do would be to use a thin layer of latex. I don't do that. I'll do latex later, but since some people have a sensitivity to it, I don't like to use it too much. And again, around the eye area, it's a delicate thing. But if we were doing something that was important up close, let's say you're working on a really low budget film and you want that kind of crepiness, you stretch all the skin out. You could do the same with glue, like with glue on your finger. You stretch it all out, you paint a really thin layer, kind of let it dry, and then snap it back, and all of that's going to kind of wrinkle up. But again, it doesn't have much impact for the potential delicate eye skin that you're dealing with from a distance. Okay, so I've lowered this guy a little bit. And TC has a little bit of a cleft in his chin. I do too.
I do?
And if you do, just a little bit. You
Oh,
see
yeah,
it?
you do.
No, I do.
Feel it. It's a great thing to put a little color into, because again, it will create a sense of boniness.
Yeah, I was looking at my pictures of my grandfather who had a cleft chin, and it sunk down.
Yeah, it becomes increasingly so. Nose. All right, so I'm going to kind of give. Actually, I don't think. I'll do one on you too, Maggie. But I don't know that you're gonna.
Get jelly.
Not jowly. Yeah, you're just too fine. So,
You're fine.
like fine feature, not like. But there,
She's saying you're not that then.
That's all inappropriate for me to discuss. What do I do? What do I do with your cheek? Now we'll do a mini jowl on you as well. So again, I'm gonna just find little ways, and this is kind of pat-a-pat, little ways to kind of suggest the bulbousness of the nose. I'm kind of wrapping around it with shadow, very softly. Now, if you have, if your nose doesn't get sort of wider at the bottom, like TC's and mine, if you have like a very long, straight nose, yeah, emphasize length, because again, those features do grow. All right, so the jowl is created, as I get older, I feel less eager to sort of show you these things. Sort of it stays that way. So the jowl is created, right, by just giving a little tug onto this skin, because it's gonna just slip away a little bit as it's less taut from the jawline. So you see it creates a little tent.
That's what I'm saying, some parents, they don't age. they're still.
That's my mom. She sent me pictures from when she was
awesome for them and
45.
for you.
They look the same as she. She's 60 now, and she looks the exact same.
Yeah.
So on TC, I'm gonna keep it. You're not really gonna be able to see it because of the because of his facial hair, but it'll still add to the effect. I'm creating a little sort of tented shape, and then because he has such a strong jawline, I'm gonna come up right under it on him and keep fairly similar jaw shadow to what we've had him do in the past. Now, for anyone with sort of a softer face like mine, we're going to really make the most of curving that out. So essentially it's caused, there's a little tent. The shape I'm doing is vaguely, on his jawline, is vaguely this.
I see.
So grab a hold of the side of your face and pull down, and you'll see it. It's going to come right there. See it? Yeah. And then I'm going to kind of tent up here as well.
Oh, this, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, even if you have a really, really strong jaw like TC does, where it's hard to imagine it getting super soft and jowly, I dropped the whole thing. So if this is where we start the jaw shadow for basic corrective, I dropped it all just a little bit lower to give that illusion of the skin sort of sagging off the bone.
Do you still shadow the cheekbones or no?
Yes, that's what I'm sort of deciding what to do on him. I think I'm going to do kind of a sunken thing. Let's do a little more with these eyes. Alright, so there are a couple different shapes depending on the shape of your face. On TC, what's essentially going to happen is all this skin is going to drop just a little, so we won't want to do the shadow right under the cheekbone. We're going to do a little low. And also, all these muscles in here, the jaw muscles and stuff, are going to atrophy, so it's going to get really hollow in there. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the cheekbone a little bit lower. I'm going to kind of keep it at the same angle. And then instead of being narrow to wide to narrow, I'm going to do it kind of like a backwards hangman shape or a backwards 7. So narrow and then wide to create a sense of hollowness through here.
Sorry.
X-Men.
See, take a look at that before I blend that. Turn to that.
I don't know.
Oh,
So essentially,
wow.
it's taking all the fullness out of
Okay.
Okay.
This is not gonna be fun, is it?
Is it supposed to have like that hard line right there, like where it ends?
Yeah, I'm going to soften it a little bit, but
It does just kind
it does. It has kind of a. And I might even, what I might do in here is just to. Is blended curve it
Yeah.
just a little bit. After I've laid in the pat.
Oh, wow.
Do I even monologue?
No.
Just wait till the end.
I'm not even done yet.
That'll be the real shot.
So again, this is ordinarily where his shadow would go. I'm gonna drop it down.
How much do you drop it? Like a
Quarter of an inch, yeah. Keeping the same angle. Bring it all the way back to the hairline.
So you kind of like reverse the triangle?
Um,
Not reverse it, but like you
Almost.
make it a different shape.
yeah, it's a
triangle.
different shape.
Actually, that's right about where my shadow usually goes. On me, at least. For the basic corrective makeup. That's where they're putting it. It's low. My face is strange.
No.
I like your face.
self-talk.
Sorry. It is different than most when it comes to correcting face.
Because it's aging day, I will give you one. Oh God, I look like my mother. You get one.
My mom looks pretty though.
Yeah.
She does.
Yeah,
My
it's-
mom's gorgeous.
Listen, you're saying you don't.
Me too. Are you kidding me? I know, she's so pretty. Yeah, she's the best.
Yeah, your mom's flawless.
I know, it's so annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom was flawless too. In fact, she did some modeling in the '60s. So she was also really thin.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a lot to grow up with.
And then she's got all her model pictures displayed throughout the house.
She didn't, but once I found them, I'm like, oh my God!
Like,
it's not yeah, she's in like 17 magazine in
Oh my
the
God.
late 60s. Yeah.
Mom has this random picture that looks like a headshot, but she wasn't an actress. It's really weird.
So, yeah, smile for me. All right, so also what we're gonna do is see this little fold that happens under the apple of the cheek? Okay, you can relax.
Yeah, what do you do with dimples if you have them?
Smile again, actually.
Dimple girl.
I like to deepen them. Okay, yeah.
It is pretty deep. It's like a crater.
Let's see. That's a
Oh,
good
it's just the
one.
one guy. Oh,
Yeah,
you
I
have
only
another
one.
one, but it's not as.
I have one right there, but it's not
It's
as
like prominent. So you'll notice what I did like under the apple of the cheek is very subtle. Now if you have more prominent apples than TC, then yeah, you can even almost wrap all the way around them the way we would the chin. Really make them kind of pop out.
God, I want to go to a bar so bad, like with age makeup, with like serious latex.
Mhm.
Even though I'm like of age, just to see if someone like calls me ma'am or something.
Mm.
Someone calls me ma'am.
Do not be in a hurry to be called ma'am.
that's
It's a social
weird
experiment.
I grew up.
Texas.
Yeah, I'm from Texas, and I grew up. You call everyone older than you, ma'am.
Yeah.
And around ma'am.
Man, sir.
Yes.
I didn't grow up.
It was so weird to me when I came here and people took it as an insult.
Chaos. All right. This is a really cool technique.
Thank you.
Make a kissy face.
Oh yeah.
Oh yay.
Oh God.
Right? Because remember that our circulation becomes less efficient,
Ugh.
right? If we wanted to go older than that, we could even kind of deepen some of these areas around here where we found neat little crevices, like into, and these would just be teeny little folds into the lip.
Foundation.
Yeah, I just did that with a little bit of his foundation.
That's always.
And I'm just going into the very deepest little crevices with the edge of the brush and just flicking into them and outside the edge of the lip just a little bit. Can you see that?
I feel like the right
Just
side
a
of your
few.
face looks older than the other side.
Your right or my right?
You're right.
Yeah. Well, my face kind of like
That might just
actually
be
goes like
because
this a
I'm
little
on the
bit.
right side.
Like my whole body actually goes like this.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Also, I have a little bit different light on either side, so it's entirely possible. You can play around
That big.
with the hair wipe that comes in your kit. Should you choose?
It's on video now.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll
Oh,
be
yeah,
really
there's
fun.
hair wipe, right? Yeah, so this guy, I'm not gonna do this to TC today, but if you want to play around with this,
Do it.
it's pretty fun. It's just painted on. So remember that it tends to start around the temples.
Yeah, make him go into the directing auditions looking like 65.
Mm.
Yeah.
It
Alright.
start all the
Yeah.
directors today.
That'd be
Yeah,
so
we'll have him
funny.
leave. I'll just show you a little. So you want to
Yeah,
sort
what
of
if I
take
say
it.
it's a 70?
And lipstick.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, you just want to take it a little bit, just brush it right onto the hairs. Remember, sort of gray, particularly on men, starts around here. It should wash out when you wash your face at the end. So temples, graying men start at the temples, right? From the base up, so we do TC's whole temple and sort of creep it up. You don't want it painted on too solidly because a salt and pepper look is really all that's going to be believable if you're not going to be wigged. Ladies tend to start graying, I'm told, from the temple area. So keep it.
Depending on your hair color, what
Your hair's never gonna get gray.
yes.
No, it's gonna
What would you go? Like I feel like I might not go white. Right.
Yeah, no,
I
I
feel
think
like
you
I'll
would
go
continue
gray
to look
and then-
blonde. Yeah, my mom was a strawberry blonde, and she just looked blonder and blonder because those white hairs
Yeah.
mixed in with
Yeah.
auburn hairs, so pretty.
I'm gonna look blonde.
I mean, I have baby's hair. I have like but I only have like one gray, and I yank it when I find it. So yeah, for play with the hair white and see how it goes. The other thing that you can, instead of using hair white for, you can just actually use a little bit of a highlight. Is and I'll start doing the highlight. A great thing is to take highlight and just any hair, particularly brow hair. So men, not only will your eyebrows seem to be less thick, but they'll also start growing just at insane angles. So what I'm going to do is I am going to brush TC's eyebrows the wrong direction using highlight.
From Oh, wow.
60 Minutes, that guy. Crazy eyebrows.
Oh, Jorge is.
No, Andy Rooney.
Oh yeah.
Crazy eyebrows.
Yes.
He did.
Craziest
I'm
eyebrows.
really into
That's
old men
awesome.
that have those eyebrows.
I just
that,
want to age
come
like
way
a
out
person.
like this.
Oh my goodness.
My dad.
So
If he doesn't
wrong
have the
direction
I'm gonna have that.
with the highlight. See what a difference that
Yeah,
makes just to the whole thing?
huge difference.
How
Here.
old is this now? Is this still 60s?
We're getting a little.
A little old here.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
getting
we're
old.
taking a little. Yeah, this is 70s now. Now I'm doing the same thing. I'm just brushing a little bit of highlight here and there into his beard.
This is good, TC. You still look suave. You'll still look
do.
very suave in your
Silver
70s.
fox.
Yeah.
Can't wait. I mean, I can, but I
You'll
can't.
do commercials like for the most interesting man in the world. You're like,
Yes.
Yeah, you
Oh,
can do
yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm. Or I'll be the Dos Equis guy.
Yeah, you could do that.
She's
Mhm.
like interesting looking, but now she's like.
yeah. So if you have facial hair, brushing a little bit of highlight into it. You can use hair white as well, though that tends to be a whiter commitment. But again, kind of brushing the wrong direction and catching the edges of that. And then if it catches,
She's become the queen. She wasn't always the queen.
Is that my phone?
Mm-hmm.
Can you put it on silent? Yeah. Sorry about that, guys.
word's out that you're the most interesting man in the world. They're calling already.
Yes.
So
Like, hey, can we book you in like 40 years?
Now, around here, you're going to be more often in a situation where you're, say, playing someone in their 30s, right? Than you are playing someone who's much older. Things you might want to try is just a little bit of this guy here, right? Just hitting the socket. So I'm 37. So a little bit in this socket blended in. A little bit here. Maybe a little bit here. And just a slightly softer jaw. It's just a matter of degrees. Great. So start putting in highlight places. So again, the highlight's really going to help to sell the boniness in particular. So anywhere where the forehead really comes forward.
With the eyebrows, did you like purposely do it the wrong direction of the hair growth? Okay.
Yeah, it makes them look a little wilder.
Is that just for men? Or is that
No, ladies too.
so late today?
Wow, yeah, you just got really old.
Yeah, dude. Can you see it?
So I'm not really sort of doing a spot right in the center, but anywhere that kind of comes forward.
And you said that eye thing is also good for tired characters. or-
sunken eyes are great for illness, drug addiction, tired, right? It's a great, and it's a thing you can do so quickly. Like, let's say, who's a character, right, that descends into,
Well, I was thinking,
illness
I'm
or
in
drug
Down the
abuse.
Road this semester, and she's like she's conducting
And what?
interviews constantly the entire show, and she's like getting no breaks, so she's getting progressively more and more worn out.
yeah. You can do that, like, get a little paper towel backstage, like a little blended curve, wrap it around and blend toward the eye. You can do it in a minute, and it makes quite a difference. Now, also because he has a real sort of strong hairline here, I can emphasize and make this look like hair loss by kind of highlighting into it a little bit.
She's like, no, never.
Did you just see how much more prominent this side looks than the one where I haven't done it? Here, check it out. See that?
Oh,
Wow.
I'm not gonna look yet. I'm just gonna-
It's that gray too below it. I'm still looking into that.
And again, sort of the rule with this stuff is kind of follow the direction that the skin moves. So I'm kind of going right into the hairline at a little bit of an angle here.
So if I want to look Anderson Cooper, I just pour it on my head?
Don't we always look like Anderson Cooper?
Anderson Cooper
I
is
wish you all looked like
another person that has not aged.
Yeah.
In like, well,
It's crazy.
premature gray helps though. Like it's not like you can track it through his hair
Mhm.
color.
Yeah.
That's how, like, I had a teacher in high school, and I thought she was, like, early 40s, and I found out she was, like, late 60s when I graduated, because she had hair down to her hips that was all silver. It was gorgeous.
My mom's best friend.
So just know, so I went through all like the little like bumps and cracks of the nose. Just make sure then that your highlight will be narrower and wider as a result. And I came up right under this like little fold I created here as well. And then let's hit the bulb of the nose with a little circular area there.
No way. I don't blame her.
So highlight in coming right down to the new cheekbone.
Video on YouTube.
And then just to sort of draw attention to where the skin hollows, I'm going to do a real subtle little bit of a highlight. I'm going to take it kind of at an angle, right toward the center from.
Whoa.
Yeah, you look really sunken.
So bringing it right to. And then very slight angle, just a little. Keeping that soft. All right. So eyes, so what you've done is you've kind of created a bagginess in the hollow here. You're going to want to hit all around on the outside of these new seams with highlight. So to create a little bit of fullness here.
Holy moly.
Even up toward the nose. Create a nice sort of puffiness.
Thanks, guys.
And notice I'm being conservative with the highlight. Also want to hit, sort of since we've created this new fold here, I'm going to hit all this down to the crease of the eye with highlight. Pose, please. In between these little folds, you want a bit of highlight to suggest the bagginess there. And then my finger is not quite narrow enough to blend that. I'm going to take the tip of the Q-tip and blend that upward. It's the highlight that really sells it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Great.
No, you look good though.
Casey, you're the hot grandpa.
Alright, let's see. Okay, so around the chin.
Really into hot grandpas.
Joke!
That was a joke.
No joke. I mean, my first crush was Christopher Plummer in Sound of Music, and I still have a crush on him.
Oh,
to this
boy.
day.
Like,
But I mean, come on.
Right, come on.
Especially in the Sound of
Casey,
Music.
Did you see the girl with the dragon tattoo? He is like
Yeah.
warm and
Fox.
wonderful.
Yeah, okay, so stay.
Kevin Bacon, forget about it.
Yo, no, okay. Kevin
also
Bacon in
just
person
so
is
He's a twig.
scary.
He's a
looking.
twig.
So you want to do highlight
He's this-
here.
He's skinnier than you
Come
are.
back
He's
to me,
so
my
skinny.
friends. A little highlight on the above the lips will help sell this fold here. And then a little bit softly, just past where it's all blended out to the cheek, just to suggest right above the little, like on the apple, a little up here. Sort of nestled into that space. Okay, so above this fold a little bit too. And above this fold a little bit too. Where am I missing? Now, because his family has experienced hyperpigmentation under the eyes, I'm not going to put any highlight between this line and the eye. But for some, right, like when you kind of squint, you can see it gets full here. So on someone like me, a little bit in between like that crevice and the eyeball itself.
I don't know how I'm gonna turn
What about
out.
the
Like, my
jaw?
mom has that whole thing, but my mom has the whole thing here, but my dad is completely dark under the eyebrows, and I don't know how I'm gonna turn out.
What about
Yeah.
the jawbone?
Oh, did I forget to highlight that one?
You highlight above it.
Yes. Just as you would.
And do you do anything to the neck or no?
Now, you can, depending on what shirt you're wearing. Now, so on him, right, since his collar's up here, I wouldn't. But if I were wearing something more open, you sort of make like tense neck, and then you can color into this guy.
spooky.
Right? And then like, really go for the clavicle to start. There's a hollow in here you can kind of do a scoop shape into.
Let's go to the park.
Great. So before you get wigged out, know that all the pencils are really made of the same kind of stuff. So your brow pencils and this lip pencil are the same makeup, just in a different color. I'm going to do a little bit of this redness as lower eyeliner. Okay, so look up to this.
Mm-hmm.
You take it yourself.
So it's not as prominent on TC, but on many of you, this is going to be really strikingly red. It does make a difference, you can see. Not in the waterline, which is that space between the lashes and the eye, because that can lead to eye infection, but under the lash line. Yeah. So, ladies, if you wanted a makeup look, you could try lip color, right? Make a kissy face and do it actually try it with the non-dominant hand, it's gonna be a little shakier. You could do eyeliner, in which case have the less experienced people do your eyeliner for you, right? Because you want that slightly, instead of the nice smooth line, you want that slight shakiness.
So instead of body shots on your belly button, you can take clavicle shots. Kind of like right there. Guys, I went to University of Miami for a semester. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Alright, so I'm gonna do a little bit of blush on him, just sort of show how you can reposition the opposite cheeks. And guys will want to do this. Then I'm gonna like step it up so ladies can see sort of what they're doing. Alright, so smile real big. So here's what we're doing. We're taking the cheek. I'll come to this side so you can get on it. We're taking the cheek and we're gonna drop it down like this. Right? So up till now you've put it all high on the apples of the cheek. Now I'm going to reshape the cheek by creating kind of a cup shape down here with the blush.
Oh, weird.
Look like a Joker.
Debbie takes it.
Oh, now you can really see the apples of the cheeks.
Yeah, so we're sinking the whole thing. So I'm applying it, sort of tapping into the center, and then coming up and down. So it sort of creates a sort of a slight cup shape, a U shape into the cheek. You can do it with a powder, or you can do it with a fingertip, where you'll have a little bit more control. I'm just not crazy about his blush colors. What else? Not his fault. Oh, great. My good friend the Stippler. So you can do this in shadow. If that's not prominent enough, you can try sort of the deeper brown. But something that also happens is age spots. Be careful with this because it's pretty easy to overdo. So just get the way stippling works is you tap it into the color, maybe tap it onto your hand just to make sure you didn't get like a splotch of too much color. And then you kind of lightly stipple it everywhere just to take away that nice youthful smoothness. Don't do it with the edge of the stippler either, or it'll have like little sharp edges all over it, which you want to avoid. So see how you just kind of break up? No need to do it on the eyes because this thing's a bit scratchy.
How do you keep that from like tracking color though?
Because I'm tapping very lightly.
I figured you'd be like, because I'm just that.
Yeah,
I know, that's what I like to do. I'm really
I've been
good.
doing this for
I'm
years.
just gonna have to like keep up with me.
Get on my
I
level.
would never say that out loud. Right. So just see even how this side that's stippled, it just looks more believable than this super smooth side over here right now.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
And jaws. Ridiculous. It's gross. Ooh, looks good from back here.
Down girl.
Get down, girl.
Now, something else that's pretty good for suggesting hard living is,
Hard living.
you know, too much drink, that sort of thing, is take the blush.
Too much drink.
This is probably less the case for Hispanic skin than for Caucasian skin, but a little bit of like broken capillaries just across the apple. A little slight redness across here. Like I said, I'm not super nuts about it. So kind of across here and across the nose.
Sweet spider already.
And something you might want to do, I don't like this color so much. I'm just going to take, it doesn't matter, the brush that I used for the shadow. I'm going to take a little bit of this blush and just kind of tap it along the nostril. Because that's a spot where kind of broken capillaries kind of happen. And it's a subtle thing, but it helps add to the effect. Am I missing anything? I would, unless you have really, really blonde or sparse lashes, avoid mascara. Just because the lashes get more sparse. And in fact, the sort of the wrinkling is the thing that's drawing our attention up to the eyes.
What about eyeliner?
Yeah, I would. Mostly I skip it. try, if you feel like your eyes aren't prominent enough, you can try red all the way around. If that looks insane, then a little bit of the light brown just to pull focus there is not a bad idea. But essentially, the eyeliner, mascara, they add a certain sense of like pop to the eye and sparkle, and that can get in the way of aging, right? Because we go a little more dull all over. So that's kind of helpful here, unless you're in a really big space. All right, so let me do a cheek on Maggie.